You know, when you think about the most complex machines humans have ever built, a modern warship has got to be right at the top of that list. And today, we're diving deep into the biggest of them all, the aircraft carriers, to really figure out what makes them the undisputed kings of the ocean.
So, what exactly is an aircraft carrier? Well, it's not just a big boat, it's so much more. Think of it as a floating city, a mobile airbase, and a massive symbol of power all wrapped up in one. It's a self-contained world designed to project a nation's strength anywhere on the planet.
And a machine like that, well, it comes with a pretty jaw-dropping price tag. We're talking $13 billion for a single modern carrier. Just let that sink in. That's more money than the entire yearly economic output of dozens of countries. It's a mind-boggling investment, and it definitely gets people talking about whether these giants are still the future of naval warfare. So let's take a look at what that $13 billion actually gets you. Okay, so to really wrap your head around that cost, you've got to start with just the sheer size of this thing. We are talking about a true floating fortress, a real titan of the sea. So just how big are we talking? Well, picture an American football field in your mind, from one end zone all the way to the other. Now imagine laying almost 3 of those fields end to end. That's how long one of these carriers is. We're talking over 1,000 feet long and towering 250 feet out of the water. It's just massive. And look, this incredible size isn't just for showing off. It's what makes the aircraft carrier the single most powerful warship on the seas. When one of these shows up, it's an unmistakable, undeniable message of national strength and naval superiority. But a fortress, no matter how big, is just steel without the people inside. And that's where things get really interesting. Let's shift gears and look at the human side of things, because this ship is literally a bustling city at sea. I mean, just think about it. You're out at sea, sometimes for months at a time. To keep thousands of people focused and ready, you have to make it livable. So these carriers have pretty much everything you'd find in a small town. We're talking huge gyms, grocery stores. Heck, they even have dedicated retail specialists running them. And of course, excellent air conditioning and places to actually rest and unwind. It's got to be a home away from home, even when you're in the middle of nowhere. And speaking of keeping the crew going, what about feeding them? The logistics are just staggering. Every single day, the kitchens on board churn out 15,000 meals. That's 15,000 meals a day. And we're not talking about just reheating rations here. This is about serving fresh, quality food to thousands of people. It's a gigantic, round-the-clock culinary operation that is absolutely essential to keeping the entire ship running. You can't fight on an empty stomach, right? All right, so keeping the crew fed is one massive job. But keeping the ship itself, this multi-billion-dollar piece of machinery and all its high-tech aircraft in perfect working order, that is a whole different level of challenge. It is a nonstop, 24/7 tune-up. You know, on a machine this complex, there's zero room for error. One small thing goes wrong and it can cascade into a huge problem. That's why they're constantly running assessments on everything, trying to spot dangers before they even happen. It could be a tiny valve deep in the engine room or a glitch in the navigation software. It's a culture of always being on high alert, where experience and training are what keep everyone safe. And then you have the aircraft. They're the whole reason the carrier exists, right? Keeping these jets flying is a science in itself. It's all broken down into 3 main stages of maintenance. You've got O-level, which is like the daily checkup by the flight crew. Then there's I-level for the more serious, specialized work. And finally, D-level, which is basically sending the jet back to the factory for a complete top-to-bottom overhaul. And what's really amazing here is just how self-sufficient these carriers are. Those first 2 levels of maintenance, the O and I levels, they happen right there on the ship, in the middle of the ocean. We're talking about swapping out a jet engine or rewiring complex electronics, all while at sea. It's only for the really, really big jobs, like stripping the whole thing down to fix major corrosion or a full repaint, that the aircraft actually has to go back to a depot on land. Okay, so we've seen how they keep them running. Now let's head up from the hangar bay to the flight deck and talk about the real stars of the show, the incredible aircraft that these floating air bases launch into the sky. First up, we have the F-18. If there was ever a definition of a jack of all trades, this is it. This jet is the absolute workhorse of the fleet, a favorite of both the Navy and the Marine Corps, simply because you can ask it to do just about anything and it'll get the job done. So what do you need today? Air-to-air combat?
The F-18 is a world-class fighter. Need to hit a target on the ground? Yep, it's a ground attack aircraft too. It can be loaded up with extra fuel tanks to fly for hours, or it can even be equipped to carry a nuclear weapon. It is the ultimate Swiss Army knife of the skies. But if the F-18 is the reliable workhorse, then the F-35B Lightning II, well, that's the thoroughbred racehorse. This thing is pure cutting-edge tech. It's flown exclusively by the US Marine Corps, and it's easily one of the most advanced jets on the planet, with what many call the most powerful fighter engine ever built. And all that power translates to pure blistering speed. We're talking 1,200 miles per hour. It's this crazy combination of stealth technology, advanced electronics, and just raw, unadulterated power. But speed isn't even its coolest feature. The F-35B's real party trick is something called STOVL. That stands for short takeoff and vertical landing. What does that mean? It means it can blast off from a super short runway, and then, get this, it can land by hovering down onto the deck just like a helicopter. This capability is a total game changer, giving it the flexibility to fly from almost anywhere. So, okay, giant carriers, incredible jets, that's the state of naval power right now. But what's next? What does the future hold? Well, let's take a look at a ship that might just be a peek at the Navy's next wave. Meet the USS Zumwalt. This thing looks like something straight out of science fiction. It's the lead ship of a whole new class of destroyer, and it is absolutely packed with next-generation tech. But its most radical feature? It's a stealth ship. Now, a ship this revolutionary doesn't just happen. We're talking about years and years of development. Construction kicked off way back in 2008. It hit the water in 2013 and finally entered service in 2016. It was, and still is, considered one of the most technologically advanced warships ever built. So what makes it so special? It's all about that stealth. Now, this is a huge ship. We're talking about 2 football fields long. But because of its really unique hull design, which actually slopes inward, it just doesn't reflect radar signals back the way a normal ship does. So the result is pretty mind-blowing. On an enemy's radar, this giant warship shows up as a tiny little blip, maybe the size of a 50-foot fishing boat. It's basically a ghost on the ocean. And that brings us to a really big question about the future, doesn't it? In a world with new and different kinds of threats, will these giant, powerful aircraft carriers continue to be the queens of the sea? Or is the future of naval warfare something smaller, stealthier, something more like the Zumwalt? The answer to that is going to shape what sea power looks like for the next 100 years.